All right, we're going to make some contingency tables in Excel, and I need two categorical data. It doesn't matter which categorical data you grab, what data set you use, as long as I have two categories. So I grabbed the Math 140 survey data from 2015, and I'm going to use political party. So I'll click that header, click Control C, and I want to put that into a new fresh sheet. So I'll click on A1 and say Control V to put that there. Go back over to the raw data and grab another category. So I'll do which social media do you use most? And I'll click on that header to get the whole row. Click Control C to copy it. And see this data marquee tells me it's on my clipboard now. And I go over to sheet 2 and I'll put it right next to that one. Control V. I'll rename this sheet so I don't forget what I'm doing. So this is going to be political party versus social media choice. All right. All right. So to make my first contingency table, the easiest way is to highlight and then say Insert Pivot Table. And I'll say from table range. And it already knows what table range because I have it highlighted. And then I want to say, I can choose if I want to put it in a new worksheet, which would just give me another sheet right here. Or I can put it in the sheet that I'm already in. And I'll say existing worksheet. And I'll say, and click here to say where I want it to go. So I'll click here. Okay. So I want to do that one more time. Yeah, I want to do that one more time because I want to make sure you got that. So I'm going to Control Z and undo. Because what if I didn't have it highlighted or it came out wrong? So even if I don't have it highlighted, I say Insert Pivot Table from table range, and then I can tell it what table to use by clicking in that field. So this field, I tell it what to use, and I'm going to use columns A and B. So I'll click on A and drag to B to get that whole thing highlighted. So both columns are in this dotted marquee. And then I want you to put it right here in D3. So click existing worksheet, put your cursor in this field and say put it right here. So this thing, I'm telling it where to get the data here and where to put the results goes here. All right. And then I say, okay. All right. So now it doesn't matter which ones are going to be in rows and which one's going to be in columns. So I'll just do the first one, political party. I'll put that into rows. And what we've done before is then taking that same thing, because now I want to count it. So I'll also put it into values. So we've done that before with frequency tables. This is our frequency of how many people chose Democratic, how many people chose Independent. So we have our frequency tables of how many for just this variable. But now in a two-way table, I also want to split those numbers up into, okay, now I want to know how many of them, of each party, is using what social media. So now I'm going to put social media into columns, and I'll split up these numbers into social media. So that 110 will get split across all the social media groups. So I'll drag that up to columns. And now that 110 has been split across all the different categories here. All right, I'm going to close this. I have my counts in here. So this is going to be my counts. And my first table was to make a contingency table with counts or frequencies. I want to make it a little prettier. I don't want this blank row here. So I'm going to, this right here is my row labels. And this little drop-down box lets me change my row labels to exactly what I want to show. I don't want to show blank, so I'll uncheck that. Same with my columns. This right here shows me what columns I can choose, and I don't really want that blank column, so I can go to the drop-down box and unchoose it. So I can customize my table to show only what I want it to show. I also would like it if this row was a little bit less white space. I'm just gonna decrease this and go home wrap text to make that fit into the box a little prettier, like that better. So get your table pretty and how you like it, and then we can do some stuff to it. So what we're gonna do is take a picture of this so we're gonna make 4 tables. One is gonna be the counts like I have shown here, And then we have one that says the joint percentages or probabilities, and then one that's conditionals or the marginal probabilities by column, and then one by row, and then we're going to do a joint. So I want to take a picture of this before I make any changes. So for my first requirement, I say I'll get my snipping tool and I'll highlight it, and now it's on my clipboard. Now I'll go over to my Word document, and this one was our first requirement, so that's contingency table with counts. So that is Control V will paste what I just use my stepping board for. So that's my Word document. And then second, so we're done with the first table. The second one we're asked for is the overall percentages. These show joint probabilities with an and. So I'm going to get that table. So I'll move my Word document aside for a minute. And I'll do, now I want to change these to be percentages. So the same values, but now I want to say, okay, so what percent of people are both independent and use Facebook should be 18 divided by that grand total of 327. I want to tell Excel to do that calculation for me. So I'm going to go to my pivot table and just click somewhere to get into the fields. Where are my field values? Let's see. You can right click and click show field list, and that will pop it up. So I right clicked. Sometimes if you just click in it, it will come up, but it didn't work. So I right clicked and it gave me that choice, show pivot fields. All right, now instead of count, I want to show probabilities or percentages. So I'm going to click that and change value field settings. And I'll change this now. I don't want it to be just a count. I want to show the value as a percentage. So I'll go to this tab that says show value as, and instead of no calculation, I'll do percent of grand total. Because with joint probabilities, we want 25 divided by the grand total. Everything's going to get divided by the grand total. So there we go. So of course, the grand total getting divided by itself is going to give me 100%. And all of these are showing me the joint probabilities. So now I'm going to take a picture of this. This table is done. So I'll do my snipping tool, take a picture of this, back to my Word document, and that is number 2, overall percentages. All right, the third thing we were asked for is, oops, let me scroll down. The conditional or the marginal percentages. By column. Oops. So I'll enter here, and we're going to do that table. So I'm going to go back to my pivot table now, and this time the undivide by the column totals. So conditional percentages by column, that means I'm looking at just one column at a time. What percentage of people, sorry, these are not marginal probabilities. Sorry, I just missaid that. Sorry, so I couldn't change my Word document. It's not the marginals, it's conditional percentage by column. So looking at just like what percentage of Instagram users are Democratic. It's going to give me 14. It's going to be, well, no, I got to change it still. But I want a column total. So I'm going to change these values to be column totals. So I go to my pivot tables again. I just clicked it, and this time it popped up. And I change my values, value field setting. This time, instead of percentage of grand total, I want percentage of the column total. It's conditional. Just of the Instagram users, what percentage of them are Democratic? Just of the Instagram users, what percentage of them are independent? So all of these column totals will be 100% because if it's just by column, of course, the column total divided by itself is going to be 100%. So of all the Instagram users, how many are Instagram users? Of course, that's 100%. So that's my conditional percentages by column. Take a picture of that one. And use my snipping tool. It's on my clipboard now, so I'll go back to my Word document and paste that there. Control V. And then the fourth, okay. The fourth requirement is conditional percentages by row. So same thing, but this time we're going to do percentage by row instead. So I'll go back over here, click on my pivot table. The pivot table field should pop up, and then I click on the counts value field settings, change this to show value as percent of row total. That's going to give me my conditionals by row. So now my rows are 100%. Take a picture of the rows conditionals. And back to my Word document. And I'll paste that one there. Maybe I'll put a page break here so it's prettier. And then the final thing we have to do is a joint probability with an OR. This will not come out in a table, but I will use that same table I used for the joint percentages and I'm going to use this table because this shows me the total number, and then I'm going to use this table to make a calculation. So I'm going to have to tell Excel to do a calculation here. So I'm going to go back and make this a joint percentage again, which means percent of grand total. So click in the table, change this to value field settings, show value as percent of grand total. My joint probabilities are always by grand total. And now I want to do an OR. All of these showing in the table are the ands, right? This is Twitter and Democratic, and there's 3.67. But I want to know if they use Twitter or they're Democrats. So I want all Democrats and all the Twitter users. So no matter what social media they use, I'm going to include them. So I want to find the probability that they're Democratic or use Twitter. And that probability can be calculated by looking at the total probability that they're Democratic, the total probability that they're Twitter. So it's like adding up all of these numbers and all of these numbers, but this one got added twice because he's in the column and the row. So I'm going to say the total probability that they're Democratic. Oops. Yeah, that's right. And the total of the row of the Twitters. And then I'm going to subtract that cell that got counted twice, which is the joint probability of being Democratic and Twitter. So that looks like, I'm going to highlight those cells. So I'm going to take this cell. Whoops, sorry, I don't want to do that. Put the equal sign. Once I click an equal sign in Excel, it thinks I'm going to do a formula, so I shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to just highlight the cells we're going to use. So this cell is going to be our, is the percentage of all the Democrats, so that's this number right here. Oops, sorry, I want to color that green. And then the probability of all the Twitters, that's the grand total on the Twitter row. So I'm going to highlight that one, in blue. And I want to subtract out that joint probability, that one that counted twice. So I'm going to subtract out this pink one. So let's look at those cell names. So we're going to say equals. This is cell J. Oh. I'm going to actually scoot this over so I can see the number better. J5. Oops.